Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Doppo Orochi. Let's get right into it. Doppo Orochi is the 10th Dan Karate Grandmaster and the head of the Shinshinkai Karate School. He has a wife named Natsue Orochi and an adoptive son named Katsumi Orochi. He has been practicing martial arts for about 50 years and is one of the strongest characters in the BAKI series. He's known by many titles, my favorite one being by far the God of War. He is also known as Man-Eater Orochi and Tiger Slayer. Doppo is shown as a strong, proud, and wise, caring man. He takes his role as the director and founder of the Shinshinkai Karate School very, very seriously, so far as to go to shut down the dojo forever because he broke his promise of saying that he would never lose to anyone again. And in his match in the Maximum tournament against Goki Shibukawa, he even went as far as to tell Goki to kill him in an honorable warrior's death, only to be spared by Shibukawa, who told him to live on and continue training. Doppo's devotion to the martial arts has led him to question and pursue the lifelong self-journey and finding the perfect manner of fighting. No matter how many people praise and look up to him, he still tries to remain as humble as possible, believing that he still has plenty of room to grow. In a flashback of him what seems to be a few days before the Maximum tournament, he's seen questioning his fist and tries to sleep for the night, being annoyed by a nearby fly bothering him. He quickly reacts and punches the air as soon as he opens his eyes and sees the blood from the dead fly, and looks at his fist, seeing his posture, imitating that of the enlightened one of the Buddha, as the Buddha Sampa hand reflecting. He has a brave, no step down sort of characteristic to him, so far as to go and fight a Siberian tiger in his younger days, and even in his later years he now admits that was a little foolish and foolhardy, but that's how he earned the name the Tiger Killer. He also believes in his karate style that there is no such thing as step back or running away, such as when he fought Yujiro Hanma, which is the dumbest movie he's ever made, more so than fighting a Siberian tiger. Despite his fearsome role as Tiger Killer and God of War, he does seem to have a little bit of a caring side, such as when his wife Natsui was concerned about him fighting Yujiro and losing to him. He sort of turns to her and says, I will never lose again, and for that you have my word. And another example is shown when he faces off with Dorian, and he stops his son from fighting Dorian because he says it's my duty as the founder of the Shinshinkai dojo to fight him, when in reality I believe he was stopping his son because he was scared for his safety, because Dorian was actually quite strong. He is shown to have a rather heartless and ruthless but comedic sense of self during a fight. He says, he kind of jokes around. He's like, oh, suppose it's time to warm up, and stuff. He kind of jokes around. And during his monthly training session with his top students and visiting BAKI, he threatens BAKI, saying that he wouldn't be able to leave his dojo alive if they got into a fight, for a student to tell BAKI that the director was merely joking. He jokes around, but in a sort of weird, serious manner, if you know what I mean. Doppo is, of course, a bald man of above average height, muscular, bulky build, as is anyone in the BAKI series, and two noticeable scars on his face, one on the right cheek and the other on his left near his head and ear, and he wears an eye patch on his right eye due to the damage inflicted by Yujiro. When not in combat, he wears sunglasses over his eye patch and a simple light green suit. When in combat, he wears the traditional karate gi with rolled up sleeves and a black belt signifying his rank. Yeah, just, pretty basic stuff. So to move on to his history, 15 years before the start of the Underground Arena saga, Doppo for the first time meets Katsumi Orochi, who is 5 years old. The karate grandmaster sees him in a circus where Katsumi is performing is a really, really strong and amazing child. That day, a tragedy happens and Katsumi's father is murdered, and after that he decides to adopt the boy and teach him into the Shinshinkai school. In the Underground Arena arc, Doppo appears for the first time at the Shinshinkai Karate Tournament. Before the final battle between BAKI and Suido, he gives people a demonstration of his skills and, stuff like that. In the anime, the meeting after years of Doppo and Kato looks completely different. A scene is shown where Mitsuri Tokugawa, the owner of the Underground Arena, comes to the Shinshinkai dojo and persuades Doppo to bring Katsumi to the arena. After a whole situation, Doppo meets Kato at the restaurant. They talk about why Kato abandoned the Shinshinkai karate and became a Yakuza. So, nothing much to talk about there. And in the Maximum Tournament, Doppo fights a famous bodyguard by the name of Richard Filth, the American brawler who always fights in his elegant clothes. Doppo decides to enter the arena in his formal suit as sort of to reciprocate. Doppo does end up winning easily. In the second round, Doppo fights Yu Amani, which I believe he also is considered the winner. And moving on to the Most Evil Death Row Convict Saga, Doppo appears for the first time along with Retsu, Hanayama, and Shibukawa to meet the 5 convicts in search of defeat. Doppo talks to Dorian, an American who attacked the Shinshinkai dojo a few days earlier. And so this is where he of course fights Dorian later on and loses his hand in that combat, but he really doesn't seem to mind as he punches Dorian with his stump of a hand. Doppo is one of the few people in the BAKI universe, along with BAKI and Kaikaku, who is able to stand quote-unquote toe-to-toe with Yujiro Hanma. He fights his students quite regularly, and as I mentioned earlier, he's a 10th Dan Grandmaster in Karate. As founder and practitioner of the Shinshinkai School of Karate, Doppo has shown above average human strength and skills such as flipping a large manhole cover with one hand while being sealed. It's just the basic BAKI stuff. They're quote-unquote human, but then they do quote-unquote unhuman stuff. He is very analytical and knowledgeable about other fighting styles, such as Yujiro's Udonde technique, quickly thinking of countermeasures, and shows his knowledge in martial arts and being able to break down his techniques and explain to others, being a instructor. Well, I think that about covers all of Doppo Orochi. If you guys like the video, of course, like, comment, subscribe, you know what it is. And I'll catch you on the flip side.